Islamic hatred of Jews. The fact that 90% of people in the Muslim world, when tested and polled, hate Jews, and that idea permeates. And if you don't do anything about it, then your grandmother's going to get killed in her apartment one day.
Yeah. And the whole idea that we thought we needed to talk about is free speech and hate speech that's been basically versus each other. Yeah. And right now, free speech is used as, hey, John, as a trigger word.
Yeah.
Free speech equals hate speech. If you defend free speech right now, you probably want to use hate speech. But
I mean, one of the things we have to acknowledge straight up is when you defend free speech, if you're doing it honestly, you're defending hate speech too.
Yeah,
right?
you
Hate
have
speech
to.
laws, I mean, right? It's if you can't, like, right? I don't like hearing the mosque say
I have this
blah, blah,
analogy that I think it fits. Free speech is a vessel. It's like a drug that, I've said it before, it's like a drug that is really urgent. It's really beneficial for you, but it has some side effects. The side effects are the hate speech, the KKK dude, the Nation of Islam dude. Those guys are the side effects, the diarrhea. Okay?
Yeah, Louis Farrakhan,
your
diarrhea.
Whatever. And yeah, they will come with the drug, but that doesn't mean we can't take the drug. We have to take the drug, otherwise we'll lose our lives. But we have to tolerate those side effects. It's not like we are pro side effects, we are pro diarrhea or whatever. But unless, I guess, you're like poisoned or something.
but you still don't.
Overall,
even if you're poisoned, you don't keep it in a jar next.
We have to understand that we have to tolerate those ignorant idiots and just counter them with education and cultural, basically, development, so that people will not the same way KKK became such a hated organization in America
is through being lampooned with humor.
Yeah, being lampooned and talked about. Christopher Hitchens had them on TV and just destroyed them. Like, that's how you do. You destroy them. Just the sunlight is the best disinfectant, as they say. There's a reason, because until people don't know what you're talking about, what this guy is actually, when you just push them down, press them down and oppress them, even if you're right to do so, these people will become, as you could call them, victims. Okay? They get victim status. And that attracts more attention.
Okay. So let's start in the UK, where this is really blown up. There's two major developments in the UK on the free speech front. A lot more. They have their own problems with, Muslim Brotherhood and Islamization. But the two ones is Pugler, that evil Nazi pug that made a Nazi salute and got Count Dankula into trouble, and Britain denying entry of the three identitarian journalist activists coming into the UK to deliver a speech. So what do you think is the better starting off point? I think the three people coming in, because it's
okay. We can talk about that.
Okay, so there's three people. The gospel according to Hitch. Now it's important. What I don't like is when people call them conservative journalists, or they're far right. But when we talk about it, we have to talk about it honestly. Like the identitarian crew. These are three people who are identitarian in nature. This is. They believe in identity politics, except when people who say identity politics say white and black, they say black and white. So it's the same thing. You just switch the words black and white or whatever. It's a terrible ideology, and I don't want it taught to my kids for the same reasons I don't want the radical left-wing version of their ideology taught to my kids. But you have the right to say it freely. So there's one thing you can say is, okay, this is them coming into borders. Do they actually have the right to free speech in the UK? No, this actually isn't a legal violation of their rights coming in. It's a pretty bad precedent to set, to deny a law-abiding Canadian citizen entrance into the UK. That's a bad diplomatic policy, but it's really a terrible social thing to do, especially because you're allowing it from the other end. So what is happening is this is not the British government taking away anyone's laws, but this is them failing in the moral and cultural way to uphold British values. And that's the big story here on the Lauren Southern stuff. So one, try not to call them conservatives, because it's not like they're actually banning mainstream conservatism. They are taking, a approach to the identitarians, which is also wrong. Now, this would be fine to do to Lawrence Southern if, when preachers that preach consistent hate from Pakistan and other parts of the Middle East try to come to the UK, they're stopped as well. And then you could say, well, we just don't want this here. We want to keep our country like it is. Perfectly fine. But they don't do the second half of that. They say no to these three identitarians. Okay, it's a terrible ideology and your country. But then they say yes, hugs and kisses to whatever Muslim Brotherhood shill wants to preach genocide this week or the next. And there's more than enough evidence of this. So it's not anything to do with free speech now. This is more directly them curtailing towards Islamization.
Hey, Shervan.
So I think...
Yeah, I think the biggest problem here is the double standard.
Yeah.
Okay? When a government starts to impose its authority arbitrarily and selectively based on ideology, that's when you have a problem. And yes, identitarians are dangerous, but not as dangerous as people who are openly.
They're not dangerous. They're just wrong, right?
Over time, they will become dangerous, but
only if you ban them from your country while letting in Islamists. If you would just, I mean, there are ways to make them dangerous, and exactly. They're doing everything they can to do
falling into the trap that the other side is pushing you in.
And now we have to call a conservative party in Britain the left.
Hey, Stacey.
Which is, and Jeremy Corbyn is like the radical murderous left, I guess, but the
crazy
conservative party is the left, and I don't mean center left. They're on the left. They're lefties, and then you have Corbynites who are on the moon. I don't know where they are.
Yeah, Corbyn apparently, like the guy openly participates in
his friends'
anti-Israel rallies and all that.
So my friends are terrorists. So my friends espouse genocide.
But
at least I'm also friends with the IRA.
The real issue here is without free speech, Western civilization is really doomed, because the whole idea was you can say whatever, and that's how Western civilization went forward so fast. Everybody was allowed to speak, and you bring up new ideas. They might not be popular, they might be hated, but that's how you go through bad ideas, talking about them and arguing about them. Hey, Josh. So what's happening is...
Well, Corbyn praises Chavez as a champion of social justice. It's important to know that Hugo Chavez is a champion of social justice. He did champion social justice. Social justice is communism or Nazism. It's group identity and treating people like packs. He did that in Venezuela. The whole thing collapsed because it's a horrible ideology. Adolf Hitler is also a champion of social justice. So is Vladimir Lenin. These two people championed new social justice movements.
Yeah.
This is social justice.
So guys, before we get into it, hey, Salman, we just wanted to say that we just learned how to share screen. So if any of you wants to talk about this subject and has really something like you want to add to this, no Baba Booey and stuff, just if you want to talk about it, just let us know and we'll add you to the screen to talk about it a bit and your experience or what you feel about it. So one of the examples I wanted to give was the country of Turkey. Okay, what happened in Turkey? Turkey was a semi-democratic country. They had freedom of press to a degree. They had prisoners, journalist prisoners, but still it was semi-democratic. And what happened was when Islamism started to creep in, the number of journalists in prison exponentially rose. Right now, Turkey has the highest number of journalists in prison. And what you don't understand is when that atmosphere of oppression starts, what happens is when journalists realize, oh, I can go to jail.
Yeah.
Some of them will, and the rest, you know, they are parents, they are fathers and mothers, and they have families, and they have to feed their family. So they stop talking about the things that cause problems, because not everybody wants to go to jail. Because they have people depending on them.
But you told the story of BBC Persia when they were doing unfavorable stories about the regime. The regime kidnapped the families of the BBC reporters out abroad and said,
hey, in Iran, and said, hey, guys, let's talk. Yeah. And after that, BBC Persia suddenly became very much more.
Is Israel the worst thing to happen to the world? Find out next week on Israel Sucks.
The supreme leader thinks so. So
he is supreme and he does lead.
And a lot of journalists in prison are not labeled as journalism crimes or whatever. They're labeled as enemy of the state, like undermining national security and stuff like that. And they use this, or even in Iran, they even use like, I don't know,
Israeli spy, Saudi spy.
Those are the
standard
old common ones. But the usual ones, when they want to destroy you, usually, yeah, we found drugs at his house. Okay, they had parties that were like morally reprehensible, stuff like that. Perverts. So it's not journalism. Like they can't, they official, like when Javad Zarif, the Iranian foreign minister, goes on CNN and says, no, we don't have any political prisoners. He's technically right, because what's happening is they don't have political prisoners. They don't call them political prisoners. They call them I don't know, enemy of national security, like underminer of national security, stuff like that. They label them like that. And that atmosphere just grows and grows to a degree that there is no more free speech in a country whatsoever. And what's happening right now, it's become something of a model. They are following it everywhere. It's become a common practice. And Facebook and Google and these companies are following it, which is very scary, because people rushed into social media, billions of people, and they started sharing information. And these companies immediately after these countries that are that don't have free speech put limitations on them, these companies started to cooperate with them.
Yeah.
And people have gone to jail. People have been killed in Iranian prisons because of their posts on Facebook or their tweets. They made a joke about, like, I don't know, Jonah in like that, Bible, literally a joke.
Yeah.
About the dude being in a fish's stomach. And the guy was killed in prison under torture because of that joke. And these companies start cooperating with the regimes. And what's happened, like Canada, Justin Trudeau issued an ultimatum to Facebook, crack down on
hate speech
and fake news and hate speech, or we're going to put a lot of limitations on you. Hey, Gila.
I think he said fake news. I don't think he talked about hate speech. We don't want to have fake news yet. But yeah, he said crack down on fake news.
Fake news is the term used here. It's the national security here.
Yeah.
Okay? It's the term that's used instead of national security in those countries. Here they use fake news.
Yeah.
Okay, this is fake news, so it has to be cracked down on. It has to be silenced. And when something like that happens to Quaggan Report on Google, they just wipe a very smart person off the map. So he has to go on traditional media to talk about the fact that he doesn't exist in virtual world.
Yeah.
And it's getting scarier and scarier.
So this is kind of what we talked about before. This isn't really First Amendment stuff. Okay, we have nothing. That's fun.
Yeah.
This isn't really First Amendment. This isn't sort of where we argue the law and the whatever. This is where you have to actually separate and say, no, we're arguing a principle here. We're arguing a civilizational principle of these companies don't support this, so we can't support them. Like, we need. That being said, I mean, it's hard to just say no more YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or anything on the internet, but there has to be some sort of account to these companies morally. Like, they don't support our values, and we don't like that. And if you don't have a strong value system in a country, which is what the left loves, is the hate culture, destroy it all, monoculture, multiculturalism, it means the same thing to them.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a sort of bulwark, which is free speech, and I'm going to add a bit of what Peterson said about free speech, because I think it's a very important principle. I
just want to add what Hengam has said here.
Go for it, and then we'll do mine.
We do not have any gay people in Iran. It's a Western problem, as our president announced in Columbia University, where he was invited for a speech, because they actually thought, like, they got money. it was out. Like
Yeah.
they got money from Iranian government to invite this guy for a speech because he wanted prestige.
Yeah.
And that's what he said. We don't have gays in Iran.
Yeah.
Continue.
So what we have.
Okay. Continue, and then we add Josh to the conversation.
So, I mean, one of the things that I'm going to try and say is, okay, so one of the best arguments for free speech I heard was a very profound Peterson thing he said. It was like at a random lecture at Western, is you don't actually think your thoughts nearly as well as you do. And everyone immediately is like, oh, well, I'm a great thinker. I think all the thoughts. But when you think of like you just sitting there by yourself, you're really just self-reflecting on your own sort of ideas. You're basically saying, you know, me, I am so smart, that you don't actually start to think your thoughts until you put them out into the world. So that's either writing or talking, and that's free speech, right? So there is no thinking, right? There is no free thought without free speech, because free speech is free thought. So to limit what you can say, in a way, is also limiting our capacity to think and explore and all this. I mean, I'm sure you all saw the Kathy Newman interview with him. It's a fundamental,
because all thoughts,
but it's also a fundamental mechanism of human behavior.
All thoughts are 100% correct until they are uttered. And somebody says, no, that was really stupid what you just said.
Because I think up here,
Hey,
I think
Rick.
Everything in here is brilliant until it comes out.
Josh, by the way, I opened the... so if you want to join in, just send a request there, and anybody who wants to join in the conversation.
To be honest, we should have practiced this before.
Yeah, we haven't practiced this, so stick with us.
We practiced it between the two of us, but
yeah, bear with us. It's
We'll
going to
keep
be
going.
a little, but yeah, until a thought is uttered, it makes sense. Like, how many times have you heard this cliche sentence in movies, and it sounded better in my head? That's literally talking about the value of free speech. Until it's not uttered, you don't understand how stupid it is.
Yeah.
You have to utter it in front of people to realize, oh, wow, that sounds way dumber than it was here. That's why free speech is so important. You have to be able to utter dumb stuff so you are corrected.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Gila. So, Josh, if you are in, did you send a request? I don't see a request. Let me send an invite to Josh and see if we can make it happen.
I think the last part of the UK, well, not the last. I mean, there's always more shenanigans in the UK, but another big thing that we only touched on briefly is Pugler, the evil pug that you know, is clearly guilty of hate crime. So if you don't know the Count Dankula story, one, Count Dankula, a funny name. Two, it's a Scottish YouTuber who, when his girlfriend went away, I'm pretty sure it's a lefty, his girlfriend left, and it's clear in context in the video, he says, all right, mate, I'm going to know what's going to piss her off. I'm going to teach this dog to do a Sikh Heil. So whenever the dog heard the phrase, gas the Jews, it would do a Sikh Heil. And
now,
it's stupid,
we have to explain.
and it's offensive to some people, but that's a joke.
This guy, when he says is obviously a lefty, he has a sickle and hammer tattoo on his chest. He's not just a lefty, he's a communist. And that's what's so funny about it, because they never were under attack because of their hate speech. Okay? But now they are. And as we saw, when a lefty separates from the herd and does something like this, he is left alone. Nobody comes to his defense on the left, and nobody talks about him.
All right,
He
Josh,
is gone.
I'll help you. The only way to do it, you can only do it on your phone. You have to go through the Facebook app.
Yeah,
and then
Josh,
there's a
you have to be
button
on your
right
phone.
beside the comment thing. This is why we should have worked this out before.
Yeah, you have to use your phone to watch this, and only works on your phone. So that's what is happening in Europe right now. And in Germany, in Britain, most of all, Britain was a really huge shock to me. It really hurt when I saw what's happening, because Britain was the last trench of Europe, always. It was always the last trench. Like, Nazis couldn't bring Europe down, and socialists did. National socialists couldn't, but international socialists did. And now Britain basically has no free speech.
Yeah. So, Ben, that's a very sad story to hear about your father. And we hear stuff like that coming out of Iran all the time.
Yes, Siam Alexand. Are you talking about Mr. Siam Alexand?
It's his father, probably. last name is in. I assume I'm not that versed, but I mean, we just had a Canadian go through this where an ecologist went to Iran to study, rhinos or whatever, and he was not even an anti-regime guy. They just arrested him and killed him, and now they're holding his wife hostage, and he suicided himself, of course, and they got rid of the body, so there's no investigation.
Yes, Alexand was a famous journalist in Iran. They didn't allow him to leave the country.
Yeah,
and he wouldn't play ball with them.
Yeah.
So his family was outside the country. They wouldn't allow him to leave the country, and they really and all those reformists who sold him out. It's a whole sad story, but yeah, that's what happens to journalism. First thing that dies is humor in a totalitarian country. The first thing that dies in a totalitarian country.
Not CMX Zand.
Okay.
It's not. It's a different Zand.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the first thing that dies in a totalitarian country is humor. The second thing is journalism.
And in Iran's case, the third thing is the Baha'is.
Third and fourth and fifth and sixth and seven and eight. Well, they also killed Jews, the head of Jewish organizations, right at the beginning of the.
Okay.
Okay. I think we have Josh here. Yes, Josh is going to join us. He has been added. This is the first experiment, guys. This is exciting. We're going to have shared screen. Oh, say them on me. Oh, yeah. Siamak Purzan, yeah. Well, that's what I meant.
Well, get out all your
I
rant
forgot
talk
the poor.
because we're doubling the amount of Jews here.
Hey, Josh, how's it going? Guys, can you hear Josh well?
We can. So I can hear you, so that's good enough.
Okay, I wish you...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh. Put your 2 cents in on Britain and free speech.
Britain, the Camp Dankula thing, generally in free speech, Daniel mentioned Peterson at that Western thing. I happened to introduce him at that speech, and I remember exactly what he's talking about. And when I was introducing him, I was mentioning how basically there are 3 different parties that are involved when you censor someone's speech. The first one being obviously the person that you're censoring. So in that case, it was Peterson. The second one are the people who want to hear him speak. But the third one, and I think most importantly, the least spoken about is you're actually infringing on your own right to access, or not, I don't know, right, but your own ability to access information that you might find important. And so in that sense, I don't want to call it self-harm, but in a sense, it can be interpreted as such.
No, it's exactly self-harm. You are literally depraving yourself of.
I would say what you're probably it's not
something that could help you grow.
It's not purely self-harm. You're harming other people, but there is an element definitely of self-harm to this free speech censorship that
you're at least preventing yourself from growing by listening to different opinions.
By the way, we're going to stop this right now. Do you remember Eli Gray from Camp Ramah? Because he remembers you, and I love this Jewish geography going on right now.
All right, no, we're not doing this right now.
That was to make up for the Iran talk.
Okay.
Less accessible to more things, or would you actually make yourself dumber in a sense? And I think most people would answer no, and if the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't be for censoring people, because even the bad ideas are something that you need to struggle with, something that you need to hear, so you can know that they're bad. You obviously can't know that bad ideas are bad. Those ideas
unless they come out.
Yeah.
Unless somebody hears them, they're all perfect. There are awesome ideas. Just ask comedians. Yeah. And that's why comedy.
It's a little interesting because obviously he taught his dog to seek out, which is hilarious.
God.
Daniel's Jewish.
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious. I would never do that to my dog. I have one, but I don't never do that. I just think really
no, it is insensitive. No doubt about it.
It's funny. I agree with you. But I would never show it to my grandmother.
But come on, when you're with your friends and you do that with a dog, it's so stupid and outrageous that you can't do anything but laugh. Like, wow, this is dumb.
and someone made the point that in order for this to be a joke, the joke, if you look at this for 2 seconds, the humor and what's being implied here is Nazis are so terrible. Pugs are really cute, Nazis are so terrible, you juxtapose the two things equals a joke, right? The whole point is Nazis are bad. And the Scottish court ruled, the biggest thing to come out of this case, I think, is they ruled that context doesn't matter, that they can define context.
Prosecutor argued that context doesn't matter here. And when it's insensitive. And that's how terrifying it is, because literally what you just said, anything that you guys just said could be taken out of context as hate speech right now. Whatever you just said, a sentence could be taken out of context and become hate speech. When you say context don't matter.
It also is, I'm a philosophy junkie. I love reading philosophy. Just wrote an article about Plato, and there's another, I was actually going to write about this.
Josh writes on Daily Wire, by the way. Follow him.
Sorry?
He's plugging you. He's plugging you. Don't worry.
Continue.
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to write about him.
Isn't it beautiful? The name.
Parallel. I'm not calling Socrates by any means, but if you read Plato's Apology, you read about how Socrates was essentially put on trial and then eventually sentenced to death for "quote unquote" corrupting the youth. And it's so interesting how thousands of years ago we thought that we obviously most people agree that Socrates probably shouldn't have been put to death for what he did, because he was just trying to educate people. And I'm not by any means teaching your dog how to speak Hallel.
No, the principle is
We're now putting people on trial for corrupting their dogs and not even corrupting the youth.
It's not even humans.
It's not an exact parallel, but it just reminded me of it. I thought of it when I heard about that story. I also wonder, how much his appearance played into things. If you look at the guy, he's kind of got these spacer earrings. He's got tattoos all over.
He has a hammer and sickle tattoo right here.
Gives up the appearance of a standoff person, but maybe something went wrong, like they accidentally.
Well, there are studies.
Wearing a suit. I'm not sure. I'm not.
Well, there are studies on court behavior. There are studies on perception in courts that beards, like, if anyone here is on trial for anything, I suggest you shave, because the more youthful you look, the more likely people are to associate you with innocence. So you're right, Count Dankula does not look innocent, and that does mentally factor in.
But it's so fun to hear his name from serious media outlets several times a day. Count Dankula today was.
I don't even know what his real name is, but I love that we call him.
I don't know, and I don't care. He's going to be Count Dankula.
It's awful. I feel for the guy.
We all do.
I don't even know how to describe that. It's fearful. It should strike sort of a little bit of fear.
That incident. Yeah, exactly. That incident really shocked me and scared me, because Britain was always the like, as I said, the last trench.
It was the most American part of Europe. It was sort of the, it's sort of the connector. It was like the home of the English world where the West came out of. So sort of the outpost of North America and Europe.
The whole free speech movement, like the reason.
I mean, we call ourselves, Peterson calls himself an English liberal. It's where it came from.
The whole, in the 18th century and the 17th century was when the whole period of chaos happened, and Cromwell and all that stuff. And then the media, there was a 20-30 year period that media was so free that they started to crap on everybody. Nobody was safe. Nobody. All the taboos were broken. In that 20-30 year period, all the taboos were broken. Every person who was always safe, their taboo was broken. They were brought down to other people's level. And that was what really cemented British democracy, because after that, you couldn't put them back up again in a holy spot and say, no, let's clean this guy up and put it. No, this guy was filthy and he was exposed. And now Britain is gone, man. Britain is lost.
London is fallen.
It's also important to talk about the effect of these things. And I mean, during the situation, what was the effect here? Who was harmed by this, other than
never again another pug will do the Nazi salute.
Effect is an important thing to consider here, and I think that really there's a zero effect. No one's life was affected except for Count Dankula.
Nobody's.
It's different. When you kill someone, you're affecting the family. There's other people who are involved that are tangentially or directly involved. But
Well, you can argue that because he put it on YouTube.
I'm not sure if they're still together. I think they are still together,
Yeah.
as far as I know. But I mean, this, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what more I can say about this. Isaac, you're my boy, by the way. I have to say that.
All right, brother. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Mo.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
Follow us. Okay, this was successful. I think we were able to connect with somebody and share screen. Thanks, Josh. So yeah, that's what's really scary, because what this guy did was really not hurting anybody.
I'm gonna dismiss that conspiracy. I doubt there's that the Britain colluded in the spot poisoning of a spy.
Yeah, that's
seems unlikely.
okay. Let's put that a little later in the thing. But what's happening here is hate speech. The idea of hate speech is really the poison. Okay, and that's what's been accepted as, yes, there's this thing called hate speech and we should be able to censor it. Okay, no, it's just bigoted idiots who we should not listen to. Don't listen to them. Change the channel. Don't watch that YouTube video. That's your responsibility. Okay, there's crap out there. When you leave your house, there are many things that could harm you.
Yeah.
And an asshole construction worker who catcalls you is one of them.
Yeah, once you say you have to be protected from the ideas expressed by dogs, once you say dogs' ideas are dangerous, then swimming is dangerous.
Like, where are we going from this? Salman has his. I borrowed some of his. But that's the thing. Where does it end? To what extent are we going to protect people from their feelings getting hurt? What is the extent?
Well, we just need to take away their words and guns and bad thoughts.
You walk in the street, there will be some jerk who will say something unkind to you. Are we going to put a police officer at every cross section that they could arrest people because somebody catcalled, somebody said when they saw a woman? And what is the extent? Just think about, where would this lead? Where is the end game here? Because there should be an end game, right? No feelings getting hurt. That's the idea. To what extent?
By the way, I'd just like to catcall all the men listening. You sexy, sexy pieces of meat. You turn around, right? You filthy, filthy whores. Anyway, there we go. See? Catcalled.
Civil space does not condone. Yeah, but that's the extent. Just think about it, because that's the ideology. Nobody should be offended. You shouldn't say something that offends somebody. The right to get offended is one step above right to free speech. That's what Kathy Newman was talking about. And so, okay, Greenwood or Newman? I don't remember.
Kathy Newman.
Newman. Who's Greenwood? It doesn't matter.
L.C. Greenwood was a defensive lineman for the Steelers in the 70s.
Oh, that's why I missed it. But that's where I knew I'm from.
It's gonna be one guy in Pittsburgh. Like,
Steelers.
He knows. There's a 45-year-old guy from Pittsburgh.
But yeah, that's the thing. The right to get offended is trumps the right to free speech. So imagine a world where nobody is offended by anything that anybody says. Just imagine what a dystopian, crazy madhouse it is. That when you walk out the door,
hey, Julia,
the government has prevented you from getting offended by anything. So people's looks can be offensive. Okay? People's look can be offensive. What they're wearing, I don't know. The car they're driving, anything could be offensive. Okay, he's driving a Volkswagen. Wasn't Volkswagen the Nazi car? Okay, so ban all Volkswagens from now on, because some people's feelings got hurt because of Bijan was no, not Bijan, okay. Boss.
Yeah, so I'm gonna let's take a time to address Sasha's question here. The ultimate danger is not the offensiveness. The ultimate danger is the potential to sway the masses to think in terms of hateful ideology. The cult potential. Not with the pug guy, though. Bad example. So, okay,
Indeed.
Good that you're saying this isn't the pug guy, but what we have to do is talk about principles here. And yes, you're kind of right. There is a danger in hate preaching, we'll say, that you could sway people to these ideologies, and then it inspires people to do it. So this is why, I mean, when we talk about free speech, even though we're free speech absolutists pretty much, we do acknowledge there are things that
there
you
is
cannot
a thing
say.
called decency and politeness and social contracts.
Well, there's that, but there are words you cannot say, right? You cannot commit crimes with your words. There's conspiracy to commit crimes. Like you can't, right? We can't sit here and plan, okay, we're going to rob this bank and then we're going to shoot these guards and then we're going to do that, right? This is our words. We're not doing anything, but this is a filmed conspiracy to commit a crime. We can also harass someone. We could call up BJ every day and night.
Yeah,
and
like
say,
BJ is harassing me right now.
We can give him, we could threaten BJ. We could harass. These are words. These are crimes. So direct incitement to violence is a crime. Now, you're talking about promoting hateful ideologies. That's not criminal. That's a problem. So there's a problem, though, with giving the government the power to adjudicate what words are good and bad. Because if you see now, right, the Trudeau government is trying to phase out mother and father. We're saying, our government is now trying to say that gender-specific terms are bad. So you can't have Justin Trudeau with the power to adjudicate this. There has to be a mechanism within the society to deal with this.
Imagine a far Christian right government coming to power tomorrow in Canada.
Yeah.
And they say, you know what? The word atheism is now bad.
Preaching atheism is bad.
Don't use atheism. Don't use spaghetti monster is also like flying spaghetti monster is also a banned phrase and all that. How stupid does this sound to you? That's when an ideology tries to push itself as law, as human rights. They are framing all of this as human rights. There is no right not to get offended. There is responsibility to get tougher skin, but not to get offended. Yeah, and basically right not to live in the world, literally, because the world is offensive.
Yeah, and listen, we have to come up. This is another reason why we do this show, is to fight bad ideas. So yeah, there's going to be some things out there we don't like, right? We're on the right, we're on the political right, but we have these identitarians on the right. Now they say the exact same thing as 75% of the left, and that's why they're bad. They just switch black and white willy-nilly. But we have to be out there and counter these ideas like this. Sit down, talk about them. Because once you just say, okay, we can't really talk about far-right conservatism, well, yes, that bans Lauren Southern from whatever, but it also bans us and even the people to the left of us from going into these issues and trying to find truth.
Rick, I don't know. Like, Rick says what's happening is a roll down from UK's government's ideology. But I think, hey, Julian, but I think it's more
it's all
effects of United States, the 8 years of Obama and what happened in America. Canada is more directly affected by United States than by UK directly. And I think Trudeau was a side effect of Obama that happened. Not necessarily because UK government just started really going crazy. But Canada...
Well, I think this entire ideology all comes from the same place, right? It all started
the ideology comes
right,
from
it came
same
out of the
place.
university, and it started to go into the system. And I think the reason people voted for Trudeau has a lot to do with Obama, and not so much the progressive cultiness, and though there's a part of it, it's sort of this, we wanted a
cool
world leader that people looked up like Obama and Trudeau. And for a year, they could just hug each other and say absolute nonsense.
At least Obama was an articulate... like a smart person. I hate his
Obama
and his policies, but he was an articulate, smart guy. And Trudeau is wow.
Yeah, Obama was a corrupted ideologue that had some redeeming. But Trudeau is there's no mental capacity to corrupt in Justin Trudeau. There's nothing.
I think no, he's not even through Soros's puppet, Tirza. I think he's like a Soros's son's sock puppet, like it's way
ratty sock puppet.
No. He's not been worked on that much as a puppet. No.
Yeah, there's no time.
Puppet. There's a lot
yeah,
of details
strings
and like stuff,
and there's
no,
machinations.
he's just like the easiest thing. The hand immediately goes
It's
up.
not even. It's
Basically, it consists of a hand. It's not like a
his grandson's
puppet.
sock. His grandson playing with one of his old socks that he sharpied eyes onto.
Yeah,
That's
puppet has a lot of details.
as Ben Shapiro said. Justin Trudeau is the song "Imagine" come back to life as a human who then ingested a Tide Pod. That's
Dear Lord.
That is the leader of.
Dear Lord, he is our leader, and God bless him. And no, I'm sorry, not God. God do not bless.
God's might.
God might exist or not. And to be honest, I have this question from all Canadians: how can a prime minister of a country not believe in a country that he is prime ministering?
We're for those of you who don't know, Canada, according to our prime minister, it is a post-nationalist state. What does that mean?
Our prime minister said this.
Well, the word's not in the dictionary yet, so we'll get back to you. When they make that word, or when they make that word mandatory for everyone to say, we'll let you know what it means.
It's really weird. Like, imagine a cook talking about like kitchen is an illusion. What the hell are we?
Pans are a social construct. You can just heat ingredients wherever. It's like, no, the fire hot, fire hot. No,
Like
fire social construct. Fire gender neutral.
it's like a guy literally lobbying to be a chef at a restaurant, and then they go, okay, now cook something. Dude, food is an illusion, bro.
I'm not the type of chef that cooks food. We're sort of a post-food restaurant, if you know what I mean.
It's an experience that people come to our restaurant and just experience each other.
We're all about ambience here at the.
Dear Lord. Now, for somebody like me who came from a third world country, #SH country, it's really frightening. It's really frightening what's happening right now, because this was supposed to be the end of the line. Okay? I once talked to a psychiatrist like 6 months after I got here, and he said, hey, you're here now. Put down the suitcases, just relax. And I went to York University, and then I was like, holy crap! We are doomed!
For those of you who are unfamiliar with Canadian universities, York University could easily be called Yorkistan.
Yeah, it's literally the Pravda of universities. It's like, yeah, it's wow. Like, I was traumatized, and that was the first time I experienced the censorship. I was not allowed to talk about what I wanted to talk about. I wasn't even allowed to ask questions about what I wanted to ask about. And
we're trying to keep it classy.
We try to keep it clean. And I wasn't even allowed to ask a question about something that I wanted to talk about. I immediately was cursed out in the classroom by an 18-year-old lesbian white girl. It doesn't matter, but it kind of does.
It totally
because
does.
she literally had never lived anywhere outside her bedroom. And then she came to university. Nowhere in between. And she was educating me on how much of a bigot I am and what a closed-minded blah, blah, blah. Because I suggested maybe hijab could be considered as a sign of patriarchy. Maybe. Could it be?
No.
As a form of question.
No. We at Civil Space want to say the hijab is the greatest thing that's ever happened to everyone ever. The hijab saves lives.
That's what happened.
It's the foundation of Western civilization. It's the foundation of every ancient civilization ever. King David wore the hijab.
Tone it down.
And it is the greatest thing that ever
And the
happened.
funny thing is, when you talk about hijab, they say, no, Christians wear it and Jews wear it. Yeah, nuns and fundamentalist Jews. So what you're saying is all the Muslims who wear hijab are religiously equal to nuns, like literally the most religious of Christians and the most religious of the Jews. Okay. Okay, thank you for your argument. God bless you. Whatever God it may be. So Shmata. Okay, dude, don't voodoo and stuff here, but don't talk voodoo. And
you don't know what a shmata is?
no, I don't. I
Say
know what a
rag.
schmuck is, and
Well, you're-
shmucha,
Mishpacha. That's Hebrew.
I know. And who cares?
By the way, you're all part of our mishpacha here at Civil
Indeed.
Space.
And so that's what's happening. For me, it's really scary because I was labeled as like somebody who has insulted the
Prophet?
Shiite imams and prophet and all that stuff. And I have propaganda pieces by Islamic Republic to prove it online. You can say, it's in Persian, but I can put it up. And like, these are my crimes there. And these could be my crimes here. It's like, what?
Although I don't, Justin Joe's going to charge you as a supporter of the gays.
Like, yeah, supporter of gays was one of them.
Yeah. So just to let you know, Sia has been officially accused and charged by countries of being a supporter of gays.
Yeah.
So when we get put on trial for like going against the LGBTQAPIT, blah, 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 just know that this is all silly.
Yeah. So
one of you is Jewish. A little.
Guess which one?
Guess which one?
Which one of us has many allergies?
Whoa, just penicillin. Just penicillin. All right, let's not throw it out there.
But so yeah, that's
Yeah,
really,
take that, peanuts and strawberries. I can handle you,
bitches. But that's what's happened, and it's really freaking me the hell out because there is nowhere else to go. Like, it's kind of the end of the line. You know, I came completely across the world, like literally across the world, and there's nowhere else. The other side would be China and Russia. Like, there's nowhere else, and it's happening. And I could literally be sued very soon and charged, and even could go to prison for making fun of religious Islamic figures.
So there's actually a case in Canada right now. Sandra Solomon, who is in a continuous crusade as a...
She's a radical. I think she's a radical. We need, everybody needs radicals. I think both sides need radicals.
She's a non-violent one.
But she is a bit radical. But what she did is absolutely should not be considered a crime or anything at all. So it's a book.
Yeah,
it was published in a publishing house. It's written on paper and with ink. Okay? It's material that she tore apart. That's it. Nobody should go to jail for tearing apart their own property.
Yeah, it's yeah. You know, book burning, book ripping.
This was not the book.
Is not a crime. Right, you shouldn't burn books, you shouldn't desecrate whatever. But there's a difference between what is crimes and what is not. So this is a double standard. This is her doing this.
If she had done this to the Bible, it would have been considered an art piece.
So she ripped. Okay, we'll say she's going to be charged with defacing a Quran. Essentially, this is blasphemy. But why can the Muslim Brotherhood invite in speakers at their mosques, put this on the internet, and fully support these people that openly advocate for the genocide of Jews and the humiliation of Christians and non-believers and atheists, right? Direct calls to violence against Jews are consistent in the Canadian Islamic community, in the Muslim Brotherhood mosques. The Muslim Association of Canada.
All the Muslim Brotherhood supported mosques, their imams have been caught on tape, one or the other, have been caught on tape saying something regarding Jews should be basically stuff happening to Jews.
Was it Cyrus and Queen Esther? I thought Hashvarosh. Isn't that
Cyrus? Yeah.
Cyrus? Okay.
Oh, Hashvarosh, I think is the Xerxes. Yeah, Hashvarosh.
We think it's Xerxes and Queen Esther.
Yeah.
Is that? I guess that's the same Xerxes.
That's
from
Xerxes. Yeah. That's Hashvarosh. The black guy in his the black shaved dude in
300 with
300.
like the rings?
Like all the Iran, like just Google ancient Iran. Not one picture image you'll find of people without beard. They had all like big massive beards like this, very like well cut in a like a square thing, but all of them. and this dude was Brazilian waxed. It's like, dude,
and 7.5 feet tall. Well, that was a great movie. Well, it was a great film. When
and
they
he was
decapitated
black,
the guy
like
and his head
ancient
goes up.
Iranians,
Yeah.
like before Islam, they were Aryans. Iran means the land of Aryans, and no research, like Ben Affleck's school of like movie making. It's like, what do they look like? Kind of. Okay.
They had claw hands. Good enough. Okay, claw hands. Give them the claw hands.
It's like, dude, just Google. Like even Wikipedia will give you information that you could use in that movie. It was like, yeah, that's Brazilian wax this guy and this black dude, and yeah, he's from there, kind of.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. But yeah, that was Xerxes.
Yeah. So I think that's a good. I think this is a good place to sort of leave tonight. I think it's been a great Tuesday night. So for Tuesday nights, what we're going to try
BJ,
to do,
if you want to talk about the Quagan report, I don't know if BJ is still with us. He comes and goes, but
Maybe
if you
Thursday.
want to talk about the Quagan report a bit, you can come up and talk about it. If not, we can do it later on another event. And guys, please invite your friends to our live events. Please join us. Go to our Facebook page. We know you guys follow us, but go to our Facebook page and add the notification thing, so that you would receive a notification whenever we post something, because Facebook is not sending it out.
all right. And than that, if you want to follow us, on
BJ, you
Twitter-
want to talk about the Quagan report a little bit, like a few minutes? Okay, let's. You can send a request, I think, BJ. But okay, I'm gonna send you a request.
So one of the things that we'll say is next Tuesday, we're planning, what we're doing on Tuesdays is we're going to try and do one topic, like we did free speech sort of in depth, whereas Thursdays, we're going to do the traditional like current events, run through different events and sort of newsy. But Tuesdays, we're going to try and do a more sort of in-depth on a topic so we can have a, a more, we'll say, constructive day. And next week's topic, tentatively, we're 90% sure. If you have anything that you want to,
I invited BJ and Robbie by mistake, so Robbie, it was a mistake.
Yeah. So next week we're gonna, I think we're gonna do the new situation in the Middle East with Mohammed bin Salman and Saudi Arabia. What does the Middle East conflict look like now? It's Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel. How do these three countries and what do the shifting alliances look like? What are the potential conflicts coming up in the Middle East?
Battle that we see right now happening in the West, it could be won in the East. Okay. If cards are played right, a lot of stuff could happen.
We could finally do the Bush thing of, well, if they fight themselves over there, we won't have to fight them.
We did invite you. If you're on your phone, you can check it. If you're not, it only works on your phone.
Yeah, Turkey will be the sort of the fourth ingredient, the sort of extra one in the Middle East, because Turkey is a bit of a wild card as they're trying to do
Turkey,
their own thing.
The reason Turkey is not as important right now exactly necessarily is because Turkey also has just moved. It has a lot of problems within its own country with Kurds, and so it's not as active. And with Erdogan just taking power, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the whole.
There's a bit of a geography thing to
This
Turkey.
whole region. We're gonna talk about it next week on Tuesday. And BJ, we're gonna add you on
Thursday.
I think BJ is here. Let's get BJ on. Because yeah,
he will talk about the Quagan report and give us a.
It's an important thing, guys. Add your friends, invite your friends when you're on our lives. Please invite your friends and join us and bring them on to the conversation as well. Yeah, approve, add. Okay, BJ, it says we didn't receive any response from you, so I think yeah, it doesn't accept any response. So yeah, okay, we're gonna do this the rest of we're gonna talk about the Quagan report on Thursday. We just did it with Josh, BJ, so the problem is with your phone probably.
Yeah,
you don't
you're
know
the
where
problem.
to find it. Yeah, you are the problem, dude.
We'll work it out for Thursday. All right, so
thank you guys for joining us. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter. We put up the addresses there. And Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon. We're on Patreon too. So thanks all of you for supporting us and following us. And join us next week. This week, Thursday, we're going to talk about the week's events. Next Tuesday, we're going to talk about the whole Middle East situation and how Islam is changing in a political level.
All right. Thanks so much for
Thank
being there.
you.
Sayonara.
Bye.